Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here doing a reaction and review for the, I'm not going to do the whole title of everything, it's for the End of Zoe DLC trailer, because like the whole title is like the full name of the game and the new version of the game and all that stuff, so it's just the Zoe DLC trailer. So I'm looking forward to this. Of course, Resident Evil 7 Gold Edition has been officially announced. It comes out, I believe, in I guess next month. It's either October or December. I really can't remember. For me, it was like it doesn't matter when it comes out because like I already have the game. I'm just waiting for the DLC to come out. And I can't remember. I'm sure it'll be in this trailer if the DLC comes out before the official version of the game. But I believe it releases like at the same time. So the gold version, of course, has all of the DLC officially bundled together. But I was so excited to hear the news for this. With the DLC. A lot of speculations, so we'll see what the trailer gives us, and I'll talk about my speculations that I have, of course, right now, and what I think is going to happen, you know, after I find out everything that's revealed in the trailer. So we're just going to get right into it, and really see what we actually end up being shown. It's only a 1-minute trailer, so unfortunately, I'm sure it's an announcement trailer, so I'm sure it won't be too much, but looking forward to it. I would not have expected this song. Oh, it's actually kind of low. The ultimate decision.
There's a lot more to bioterrorism than thought.
Okay. Gold edition. I love that cover, I'll be honest. I think that's a really great cover. Okay, so it still doesn't have the not a hero thing, yeah. Okay, so it was December. Alright, so once again, tiny trailer. Tiny, itty bitty little trailer. So the main thing as far as my speculation for the Zoe DLC was with what we got to see, which version of the story would they take? Because of course they even put it in the trailer. You have the portion of the game where you make this ultimate choice, which if you played, odds are you've played the game if you're watching this. So official spoiler alert for the game, but you make that decision between Mia and Zoe, and ultimately there's not that much of a difference outside of like some minor stuff. If you choose, of course, Zoe, you end up taking her. She's dead, seemingly. We get this now. So she's basically dead. Mia is mutated, and then you get like a boss fight with her, which is actually pretty decent. It's actually a really good scene in the game. But if you choose Mia, then Zoe is just like, all right, well, you guys go, and then you still end up playing the game, as Mia. Like it still plays out exactly the same. They didn't really do much as far as like making the choices logically make sense. Like when you pick Zoe over Mia, somehow Mia just shows up. They don't make it a part of the story. It's just poof, she's suddenly there, and that's really it. So it was like, all right, well, which version did they take? And I would imagine, based off of what we saw, they could technically go either route, which is the interesting thing about it. So I would imagine that with it being Resident Evil, this is nothing new, by the way. They stopped doing this a long time ago with like, after, I'd say Resident Evil, I guess technically the Outbreak games is kind of when this stopped, but Resident Evil has always been like, who the F knows? Like you could choose this timeline, you could choose that timeline. If you play as Jill, it's totally different than playing as Chris in the first game. Leon versus Claire is totally different in the second game. Technically it's the same storyline with Jill in the third game, but there are a million different choices, so it could be like, this is canon or that's not canon. All those little different things, and then of course the Outbreak games are just like little episodes. Like that's like its own little universe inside of Raccoon City about to blow up at the end of Resident Evil 3. So it's not really anything new. They kind of brought it back after a super long time where it's like, all right, you did this little choice here, and it makes this impact where curing Mia, she does end up surviving, even though it looks like she's taken over and dead. She ultimately does end up surviving at the end of the game. But if you choose Zoe, then Zoe is seemingly gone. Mia's definitely gone because you actually have that boss fight with her, and then you stab her, and she crumbles into dust in the wind. And it's like, all right, well, it's interesting to see which route they decide to take, because I would imagine that they're going to go with the cured Mia route, just because that way you have two characters that you can use later on in the future. You have Ethan and Mia as this potentially husband and wife still. I wouldn't still be married to Mia, but you never know. I mean, he went to an effing abandoned house after like 3 years or something. He did some stupid stuff. So who knows which version of the game they're going to take that from, but I would imagine it's going to be the version where you cure Mia. That way they can say, all right, this is the official canon, the canonical ending of the game is Mia's alive. Ethan, of course, is alive no matter what, but Mia's cured. She's totally safe. Ethan and Mia are allowed to be together. And then Zoe also ends up surviving because, I would imagine, because you defeat Evelyn, if that's her name. I really can't remember. It's been a minute since I played. Or Evie, or whatever, the girl, Evelyn Evie. I'm pretty sure that's her name. But I think that's how they're going to do it. That's, of course, totally speculation, but that is my theory for how that's going to end up playing out, just because it makes sense to have that character choice where it's like, all right, well, if we're going to have her live, why not just go the route of Mia lived as well? So you make it, I guess, the happier of the two endings. Is not necessarily good or bad ending, but the happier of the two endings. That way Mia's alive, Ethan is also alive, and Zoe's alive as well. And we'll see what happens. It's even called the End of Zoe DLC, so we'll see exactly how that ends up taking place with her managing to survive whatever happened, whether it was her being infected, which is ultimately the exact same thing, I would imagine, if, even with Mia being cured, she still gets taken over. She fights it a little bit, but technically what they show is that she's still taken over. So it's like, all right, well, if she was able to make it at the end of the game, then, why couldn't Zoe? If Mia fought back for a little bit, and it seemed like she was still taken over, but ultimately she's cured at the end of the game, why not just say, yeah, same thing with Zoe, even though she wasn't cured, you beat the main villain, all the infection and all that stuff is just, poof, it's gone. However, I don't think that's going to be the case. And my main reasoning for that, I would have to say, is the scene where it finally switches back from Mia to Ethan, and we go basically into Ethan's mind, and you see the dad, you see Jack, and you also see Zoe in there. You never actually talk to her, but I was always like, all right, so that officially means she's dead, because she shows up no matter what. Once again, if you cure her or not, she's knocked off the boat and frozen or crystallized or whatever. And if you choose Mia, you just don't know what happened to her. So it was like, all right, does that mean that she's dead? Does that mean she's alive? It was hard to say, because the mother never showed up, because you officially kill her off. So she's officially dead by that point. So she couldn't possibly be within this weird possessed sort of hive mind thing. The son, whose name I totally can't remember right now, we find out that he's never actually been taken over. By the time you get to the end of the game, you realize that he was never actually under her spell. He was just kind of, utilizing that opportunity. So, of course, he wouldn't be there because he's not actually under her mind control. So it was like, all right, maybe they're both still alive. And that was always a big question that I had, because Zoe was always there, but we never got to talk to her. So it was like, all right, maybe there's some part of this that is, all of these characters are mentally connected once they're, possessed and taken over. So, there are a lot of things where it was like, they could make this work, because it was some stuff that just kind of was never truly explained, or technically didn't make sense, depending on what you do. Like I said, choosing Zoe over Mia, and then poof, Mia's just at the boat out of nowhere. So, if they wanted to make it the the canonical version of the game is where you choose Mia, I think that makes the most sense. Like I said, just from the perspective of, you keep an additional character in Mia, so her and Ethan can be together in future games if they ever decide to go back to third person. We actually see his face or whatever. He does have a face. There's a video on YouTube. I forgot what it is, but you can find it. They have a face model for Ethan. So they keep them together. Then you have Zoe, who may or may not survive. They call it the End of Zoe, but that could just be for suspense purposes. Personally, I would love to see her survive. I know this is a weird thing. When I first played the game, I actually chose Zoe over Mia, mostly because of the fact that it was well, she's working with Umbrella, she totally lied this whole time. I don't know. I guess I wasn't considering the fact that Zoe could totally be under the control just like the rest of the family, and she could be tricking me and all this other stuff, which that was another one of the things. It was like both of them should have been like full on dead and under control at that point. Random, storyline issues there. But yeah, I just always thought Zoe was the better choice to choose, and I'm very curious what they're going to do with that storyline now with her coming back. And I would imagine it's going to be, thank you, got super bright outside. I would imagine it's going to be after the main campaign, or at least like at the very end. But I would have to imagine it's going to end up being after, you beat the final boss, and that's why Zoe's able to wake up. But there'll still be monsters. Who knows if she'll run into her brother, so we'll see how that plays out. I would assume he's going to be in the Not a Hero DLC as well. But I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I knew that this video was mostly going to end up just being like my speculation for what was going to happen in the DLC. So that's, I just wanted to do the reaction just because I hadn't seen the trailer yet, and I wanted to, see the trailer and just really talk about it, or at least see what it would add as far as, my speculations and stuff. Unfortunately, we really don't get like anything whatsoever outside of the fact that we have this sequence where she is covered up and like her finger moves and she ultimately does wake up. So she was taken over, covered up, or whatever, and now she's kind of free of that possession. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it for sure, but I'm curious where they're going to go with it. Like, what are they going to do with this character? Like, is she going to have a future in the series, or is this truly like, this is the end of Zoe's character? Because she already has basically her own DLC when, you get to kind of see like the prequel, like how the family was taken over. So she already has some cool stuff. Like, they've done some cool things with her character, and I would love to see her actually live. But it is called The End of Zoe, so we'll see exactly how that plays out. But I would love to know, of course, what you guys thought about the trailer, as small as it was. Would love to know what you guys think about that. And definitely, I really want to know your speculations for how the storyline is going to play out for the End of Zoe DLC. Do you think they'll even bother? They kind of have to. I guess at some point they have to say, like, this happened in the game, thus this happened in the DLC. Like, I would think that they have to eventually choose one of the choices has to be canon. And I would just say it makes the most sense. Just go with the Mia thing because she lives at the end, and then you could just say whatever, Zoe was taken over for a little bit, and then she also ended up surviving. So it just seems to make the most sense, because otherwise Mia's officially dead, which they could still do that. They could make that the ending, which I think would be very interesting, but I just don't know if they do that just because of the opportunity of having multiple characters. So that's just me. I just don't think they'll do that. You have like a married couple within Resident Evil, potentially married. I just don't think they'll get rid of that opportunity for themselves in the future. So I think we'll go with, Mia was cured, Zoe just happened to survive as well, and that's, what we'll get from that DLC. But we'll love to know your speculations, and like I said, what you guys thought about the trailer, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.